So thank you again for coming and taking the time. True to the form I tried to start at my last two meetings, since I've only chaired two, we're going to try to keep it to roughly about an hour. So we're going to be really ripping through things. The first two things that I'd like to address tonight, basically, we're going to talk about briefly the transfer of the, let's see, how can I put it? We're going to talk about the consolidation application pursuant to Public Health Law 3010 for transfer of stock and merger. The controlling interest of WP Rocket Holdings Incorporated to AMR Holding Incorporated, a subsidiary of Emerson Healthcare. That is the main topic that we will begin to address this evening. This is a public hearing. All of you should have signed in. The transfer application was distributed to all of you along with any addendums and correspondence that were relative to the application. Some of you I have referred to the New York State Health Department to answer your questions. Therefore, I will open the meeting to discussion. Yes, John.
Is the application for transfer been reviewed, and is it, in your opinion, complete?
The application for transfer was reviewed several weeks ago. The completion notification was put out in a timely manner. The Department of Health was notified of that, and they were concurrent with us. The fitness and competency review and research was requested. The State Health Department prepared that for us. It was found to be acceptable. That has also been taken care of.
Can you just identify when people speak? I don't
Sure.
have a name for him.
Gregory Colangelo.
Thank you.
This is a long process. It's been occurring across the state. I can't tell you how many areas already have concluded, but I'm told that we're towards the end of the transaction. To the best of my knowledge, there has been no opposition, and we'll see what the case is here this evening. Any further discussion?
Is Rural Metro here to answer questions?
Yes. Representative at the rear of the room is Mr.
Mike Diario. I'm the Vice President of Operations with Rural Metro, and we are under 8 regional councils. 6 have reviewed and approved.
Well,
So
in
we
this,
have 2 left.
in this council, in this area where you guys operate, are there any operating changes?
Operating changes? No.
None at all?
No.
Okay. I know we've noticed in Niagara Falls that there's been we've been having a problem with ambulances. Quite a few problems. I'm sure Cleveland's aware of it. Does that have anything to do with this change?
That doesn't. I'd be happy to give you my card to talk about it afterwards if there are concerns about operational issues. So we'd be happy to address them.
Well, I mean, just we're going to vote on this now, and I just wanted to
Sure.
make sure that there's not going to be, that this seems to have been a change since this change occurred. And I'm wondering if this is going to be a problem, or is this just some growing pains, or is this something that people in Niagara Falls have to worry about, or some of the other areas that you're operating in under this region?
If there has been a change or a perceived change, it has nothing to do with the merger itself. So there are no operational changes with the merger. But again, I'd be happy to talk to you if you have concerns. So do you follow 0606 for your F&C review, or do you have your own policy?
You know we have to follow 0606.
All right, just checking. So, all right.
Okay.
Yes, John.
John Frozelone, representing consumer. On the same tangent as Chief Colangelo brought up, I've gotten a lot of complaints about response time. Times when apparently nothing really going on in the city, and it's taking 20, 30 minutes to get an ambulance to call. Will this change any of that? Will it improve our response time? Will anything happen for the people in the city of Niagara Falls?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think one of the benefits of this merger is it allows Rural Metro to be aligned with a much larger clinically based organization. And it's going to give us access to more resources, and again, more clinical expertise. So, changes take time, so I don't expect we'll see change right away, but I expect we'll start seeing some very positive changes, fairly soon. So, and again, I have some cards with me. I'm happy to give you my card. I operate out of Syracuse, so I oversee our operations in New York State, and if you guys have concerns about the operations here, more than happy to talk to you about it. So.
Just another part to that, will there be possibly more ambulances available for the Niagara Falls area after this is all done, or think everything will stay the same?
I think that there will be opportunity. We are looking to hire more people. Our goal is to hire another 25 EMTs and 15 paramedics as soon as we can. So I think that'll certainly help the system across Erie and Niagara County.
How many ambulances will that put on the street though?
I think that's probably going to equate to about another 10 ambulances total on the street. So we've already started doing that. We've purchased 17 new ambulances for the operations. So I think these are some of the benefits that you have started seeing. You'll continue to see with this merger.
10 ambulances where?
I think you're looking, sure, across Erie and Niagara.
Mr. DeValle,
Fred Del Valle with AMR, and we're very excited about the merger with AMR and Rural Metro, and Mike's absolutely right. We have an integration team right now as we speak for the last 3 or 4 weeks that have been going over every aspect of all the operation in upstate New York, including Niagara Falls and Buffalo and all the regions. So we are going to make changes for the good. We are going to add resources. We are going to give the rural metro people the incentives and the resources that they need to return back to where they were at one point. So we're excited about it. We're a national company. We're in over 2,100 communities throughout 40 states. We are the largest ground transportation service. We excel in mobile integrated healthcare throughout the country. We see over 10 million patients every year. We treat each individual patient as an individual patient, and outcomes and survival rates are important with us. We deal with NHTSA, we deal with the CMS in Washington on pilot programs throughout the country. Our medical director, Dr. Ed Rock, is a renowned medical director that deals with a lot of different hospitals and healthcare agencies throughout the country. Is very well respected. So I think we're going to bring a lot to the area, and we're going to supplement an already good team, and we're going to consolidate together and work together towards the goals that you're talking about tonight.
John, goes on again?
yes, yep.
Sir, what about the mutual aid agreements that are in place with the city? There's times when rural metro is not able to respond. They call for mutual aid, and then rural metro would call back and say they're ready to respond, and it would still take a long time instead of letting maybe a volunteer ambulance show up. It's like they almost don't want to lose any calls at all.
Like I said, our integration team are looking at all these aspects, including mutual aid, first response, and everything associated with it, and come up with
Be
a resolve.
a growing period for, you think,
It's going to take a little time.
year and a half?
No,
Okay, great.
not take care of
Okay, I'll see how things go, all right? Thank you very much.
Al, I have a question for you. I figured that as you're integrating and reviewing the system, and we've gotten into this discussion, part of that is going to include meeting with the representatives of different municipalities that you serve or will be serving in the future.
that. Absolutely, and it's all in communication, and that's very important. We've met with the principals in Niagara Falls already recently, and going back a year and a half. So we know the problems. Like I say, there's a lot of great people at Rural Metro that are going to continue to work on towards solving these problems, and hopefully we're going to give them the resources and some knowledge a fix, you know, to move forward. There are improvement problems in this area, there's improvement problems all around the country, trying to get EMTs and paramedics and training, so we have ideas on how we can supplement those shortages. So there's a lot of things that are gonna be in the works, and we're gonna try and communicate with all the regional councils to let everybody know where we are, where we're going, get input from the community, and as we move forward, we would like that buy-in in return.
Should this be successful, would it be fair to say that you'd be willing to come back and speak with us and to explain, or at least listen to some ideas, or explain to us where we're going with maybe even some sort of a time schedule into the future?
Sure, I can't give you a timeline right now. I mean, they're working very diligently, a lot of different people are putting things together right now. Our IT people are going throughout the country, you know, trying to look at every single CAD and everything that you could possibly think of. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's not gonna take a year. We'll be up and running, and we'll be back, and communications with us is critical. You know, for you people to know what we're doing, for us to know what you're doing, and so we all move in the right direction. So ongoing communication is important. So yes, your answer is yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. If anyone feels that they do have a conflict, you should declare that conflict ahead of time prior to the voting. That is a standard practice. I'm not restricting anybody from voting. If you feel you have conflict, then you can declare your conflict, or you can abstain from voting if that's your desire. As I look across the room, there's a variety of people here that are connected to a variety of organizations. You do the right thing. Any further questions? Any further discussion? Therefore, I need someone to make a motion to recommend approval and to approve the consolidated application pursuant to Public Health Law 3010, the transfer of stock and merger the controlling interests of WP Rocket Holdings Incorporated to AMR Holdings Incorporated, a subsidiary of Envision Healthcare Incorporated. The motion is made by?
I'll make the motion, Bob Youngquist.
Okay, Danny beat you to it. Dan Hosey, Niagara County. Seconded by?
Bob Youngquist.
Bob Youngflesh. Okay, as a standard practice, I will call the roll. The recording secretary is recording. Our trustee treasurer is also going to be monitoring the vote, and there will be no chads, please. Okay, I will call everyone's name. There are 17 people in attendance tonight. We have met the quorum requirements. Bonnie Bazan. Bonnie Bazan.
She's absent.
Absent. Sean Downing.
Yes.
John Duran. John Duran. Absent. Wade Schwab.
Yes.
Deb Spires.
Absent.
Deb Taylor.
Abstain.
Craig Williams. Craig Williams. Tim Yeager.
Yes.
Jerry Yoder. Robert Youngflesh.
Yes.
John Carey. Greg Colangelo,
Yes.
Cheryl Confer, Cheryl Confer, John Frozalone,
No.
Dave Greenwell,
Yes.
Dan Hosey,
Yes.
Andrew Knoll,
Yes.
Richard Kozak,
Yes.
John Lapham, John Melanchak, yes. Dave Mangus, absent. Jonathan McKnight, Luca Quagliano, Elaine Roman,
Yes.
Jonathan Schultz, absent. Chad Shepard, absent. Dale Banker, Steve Cooley,
Yes.
Mike Fuller,
Yes.
Sandor Gorok, Peter Hendrickson, Patrick Lampka,
Yes.
Kristen McAdoo,
Yes.
John Miller, Barbara Molino,
Yes.
Justin Niederhofer,
Yes.
Chuck Prentice, Jason Spencer. Okay.
Yeah, 17 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
Concur? The vote tally is 17 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. 16 votes in the affirmative were required. The motion passes. I would like to take a 5-minute recess, please. We, instead of having 19, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. All the numbers balanced out. We're now down to 18, but that's fine. Quorum is still met. We have more than 16. The other hot button issue that we have to take care of is the city of Lockport has put in an application to establish a BLS SFR. Basically, all that is required on our part to allow them to go forward is a positive letter of recommendation. We have a representative here from City of Lockport. Stand up, identify yourself.
Pat Brady, Chief at Lockport Fire.
Pat, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Pat is here to answer any questions that you might have. Everybody knows where Lockport is, right?
Yeah.
That's in the county over there. Okay. No questions? Wonderful. All right, once again, we will call the roll. Now-
You need a motion,
You
John?
need a motion first.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Second.
I'm trying to move it.
Hey.
Who's second?
Me. Steve.
Doing
Steve?
a roll call on this, or?
No, we'll do a hand vote. Okay. All opposed? All abstaining? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 17. Okay,
17.
I think 17. All righty.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you for coming. Second hot item out of the way. All right. Okay. Okay. You were, at the request of Craig Williams, who is not here this evening, a request was made, and it was a good request, and we worked on it. And as you'll see from the emails that I sent you, you each received a copy of the previous monthly, previous meeting notes. Okay, or the minutes of the previous meetings. Let's first, on the top here.
The date from this one was.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for April 29th, 2015. Anybody?
Make a motion.
Mr. Youngflesh, second by
Deb Taylor.
Deb Taylor. All in favor? Aye. Next set of minutes, September 9th, 2015. Received a copy of the meeting minutes. You've read them. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
Just for clarification, because I wasn't here, so I apologize.
Yes.
With regards to wanting to change the bylaws,
Yes.
was that actually put through as I'm reading it, or no?
Yes.
Okay, because the bylaws require any changes have to be put forth one meeting prior and has to be posted for 24 days prior to any vote being taken. So,
My understanding was, since it was a change in the definition and not the actual bylaw itself,
okay,
that was my understanding, that it was a definition change of what constituted a quorum.
okay. Thanks.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Second? Mr. Colangelo? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Treasurer's report.
Okay. There really is no change right now as far as the treasurer's report goes, dating back to the beginning of the year. Reason being this, part of the gateway project that has to be completed and conversations that continue to go on with the state, we had given John permission to sign our contract and send it into the state. They in turn are stating that they only received one page of the contract, although they were submitted the whole contract, but they're only claiming to have one page. We cannot submit any vouchers and get any reimbursements until such time as they have what they consider a valid contract in hand. Vouchers, so we're kind of still sitting on all the outstanding bills that people have submitted dating back to the beginning of the year and the end of last year for COVA, Leroy, some items for Genesee County. Every county has something that's outstanding. We could pay some of the vouchers, but at some point, we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna deplete them. And the conversation with Lisa DeLong this afternoon, she said it's okay to submit what we have up to the point that we exhaust our funds, but they will not give us any reimbursements until they have their quote-unquote signed contract. So, anybody who has anything out there, I'm gonna start cutting the checks tomorrow, submitting them, we'll get those out to you, and we'll move forward from there. But everything is still status quo as of January 1st, end of last year into this year. So, she just gave us that clarification today in writing, so.
So did you submit the application again to them?
No, she's just saying she only received the signed last page. And
Actually,
John
what,
sent them the whole contract, and they're just
actually
saying.
what occurred is they were sent it electronically, then sent it through the mail. And we do have receipts for that too. But unfortunately, receipts don't mean anything if they can't find it.
So what do they want you to do?
Send it,
again?
have it currently,
Send it again. What I'm gonna do is do it electronically. They'll have no reason that they cannot download it because our server at work, I can send any file, any size. It'll also identify who downloads it, when they download it, so I can identify exactly when I send it to Lisa. I'll send individual ones to Lisa, copying, John, and he'll see that they have it, and then I'll send him proof that they were downloaded by which individuals at which time. So, and then they only have something like 9 or 10 days to actually download it, and that link disappears, but we'll have proof that they got it at that point. They can't deny it because they should have security for their own emails and their own policies, so.
so financially,
So financially, we're still at the same balance of $10,050.55. We did receive a check from Monroe Metro for the application processing of $1,500. We'll pay out the expenses for stenographer and whatnot, miscellaneous, and then reimburse them the difference. So that's it.
questions? Andrew, program agency report?
It's circulated around, did quite a lot of different classes. Biggest one that we've been doing is the opioid overdose classes that have been going around to the different fire departments. Quite a lot of people have been trained. We almost have 500 first responders from law enforcement, EMS, firefighter side, trained since mid-August. And then there was just some notice of intents for blood glucometry and albuterol. And for the syringe epinephrine kit, if anybody's not familiar, it's the check and inject program, whereas it's going to allow BLS providers to participate in a pilot program through New York State to draw up epinephrine and administer it instead of using the expensive epi auto injectors. If agencies are still interested in doing this, get a hold of me so that way we can get the paperwork sent out. Because there's been an approval by REMAC to allow this. And just got this at the REMAC meeting for backboard closet at ECMC is bursting at the seams with equipment. I have a list which I was going to be emailing out to the different agencies. A couple of them are like Alabama, COVA's on here, just a couple overstock of backboards over at ECMC if you could get them out of there. They would appreciate
Pile them out in
it.
the parking lot, have a big bonfire,
Yeah.
we don't need them anymore.
Well, and then there was the REMAC protocols have been gone out. The updated ones there's 2 different ones going out. The ones that UBMD put out sort of was formatted incorrectly. Also left in intermediate, things like that. I took it upon myself, asked Dr. Brian Walters to actually format the whole thing, and I actually formatted the whole REMAC protocols. It removes intermediate and includes the page numbers at the bottom, because I know once they put them out, they didn't even have page numbers at the bottom, and it went on to other pages, which made it a lot more confusing. So that way they're a lot easier to be put onto your phone for a PDF, or if you want them to be printed out. But they're going to probably put a couple more changes in there for like the pain protocol is to, because we're giving fentanyl, is to just put a key point consideration for possibility of rigid chest in there syndrome, and then also for allowing blood transport, because as it is into the protocols is you can't transport without a nurse. But the state just changed that. I believe it's policy 1506.
About 2 months ago that it went through.
Yeah, yeah.
2 months
So
ago.
that we're gonna probably try to incorporate those changes and then try to get the final product out.
Okay, there's a couple of things with that. First of all, any changes to the REMAC protocol have to be submitted to the REMSCO and the CMAC for their approval before those changes can be incorporated into the document. We just finished trying to do a 2015 update that went back and forth. Are they prepared to present those changes in December?
For these municipal ones,
The
like
two
the,
that you just referenced?
that I was not aware of. I could bring it back to
Okay,
Dr.
no,
Walters as well
Just
for
curious.
that.
But any changes in protocol have to receive the approval of the CMAC and the REMSCO before they can be implemented. That's just a matter
Has
of.
there been anything on the collaborative protocols that
Ah,
we're working on with
they-
REMAC and Melrose?
They did talk about that.
They have
they-
these team together.
Yeah, they possibly maybe next year,
Dr. Cushman told me January.
January. Well, that would be for Melrose. Melrose took up that, so the collaborative. For REMAC standpoint, is they're not.
There is a, Doc, you're our link to the REMAC. Do you know where we're at with the collaborative agreement protocols that they had a subcommittee on? You know if they met?
Talking to me, John?
Yes, Doc. Yep.
Yes. The answer is yes. We're talking about collaborative protocols. Absolutely.
Okay, but it hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Spring.
So they're looking at spring. So if I hate to be a bearer of delayed news, but if they're looking at a spring presentation, then it's got to go back to the CMAC. You could be looking at 2017. And part of the problem, you know, you look at something and say, what's the problem? The problem is that the requirement is that it has to keep on going back there. And you can understand why, because it's got to get review from the body. But this body used to meet once a month, then it went to every other month, then it went to 4 times a year, now we're down to 3. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of material in the windmill, but the windmill is not turning. So if you wanted to do something as a group, it would be to somehow try to influence the Department of Health to allow more than 3 meetings per year. But the answer they're going to come back to you with is that we don't have any money. So that's the reason for the delay, which stresses the point that anything that's sent up there needs to be finalized before it gets there. If not, there's just a delay. Now, they spend a lot of time trying to tweak it on the floor, but sometimes there's just too much tweaking that has to go down. Comment? You're there, you see the tweaking.
And then the only other thing was, I know it was brought up by Scott Wander, is for the PPAs, remake provider privileges applications, is to possibly put more demographics on there. I guess there's been issues, and if someone gets pulled offline or anything like this, it's kind of hard to contact them either by snail mail or email. They want to make it a requirement that on the PPA it's going to be an email, phone number, and then home address. So that way, once that information gets to program agencies, and if there is an issue with a provider in the region, that information could get sent out by letter and also email. That's what they agreed in. They changed some of the wording in there, I guess, towards how an agency officer reads it, is they have to actually physically look at the cards to sign off, things like that. That's what they're looking to actually change onto those.
Under new business, I have a proposal that will fit pretty good with that. Anything else?
No, that's all we have.
Okay. I'd like to compliment Andy. He's been working out quite well. He's been very helpful and almost accessible anytime I call. That's something we've been trying to build towards, and I think we're achieving that. There have been a lot of classes, at least many more than I've seen in years past in Niagara County. And as far as anything else goes, I can't speak for Orleans or Genesee, but I would assume that that is the same case. Could you comment any more on the REMAC meeting today?
A lot of it was just like the protocols and things of where people put into different, let's say for like albuterol, blood glucose, they want it to be vetted essentially. So that way if someone's not turning in their PCRs on time, things like that, it could go to the medical director of that agency. And then if it's even more, go to the QA/QI of REMAC to figure the things out instead of just going right to REMAC.
Any question? One concern that I've had with the current setup that we have in place with the REMAC is the fact that it seems that they used to be called the Office of Pre-Hospital Care, which was the program agency for Erie County and Erie and Wyoming.
Erie and Wyoming is the Office of Pre-Hospital Care, and I guess they changed it to
UBMD.
Yeah, UBMD.
One of my concerns is that the other two program agencies really don't have too much input. And there should be input there. It should not be being driven by a single program agency. There needs to be input from the other two agencies so that the voices of the people that they represent are being heard. And we always have to remember that the REMAC is a subcommittee of this committee. So we need to develop, hopefully, a better working relationship and not have it appear, if it's just a perception, that the only program agency that is helping to establish policy is the Office of Pre-Hospital Care.
Well, what are your suggestions? Because over the years, you've brought that up many times.
My suggestions, quite frankly, go in this neighborhood. I'm putting forth policy under new business tonight that I think will address it. So if you hang on, watch for the shoe to drop.
Andy, those updated protocols, you said that there were some edits to with the page numbers and whatnot?
Yeah.
They're off your site, right?
Yep, they're on our site, and I emailed them out as well.
That email you sent out, a lot of people can't download it if
Oh,
they're
no?
running the Android 5.0.
Oh, okay. I'll put them up on a different type of system then, so that way
Showing
everybody.
up in your Google Documents, but you can't download it if you're running the 5.0 version of Android.
Okay, yeah, I'll change that. Wasn't aware of that, so thank you. I'll
It
change
worked,
that.
it worked good with mine. I don't know. I think I'm on 5.0, so, but I don't know.
Okay. I'll put it on different formats as well.
Did you list the pads and NOIs
Uh,
on your minutes?
and the forms, yeah, just albuterol and glucose.
Okay,
There was
on
no
the-
pads.
On your program agency report? Yes, no?
On that one, yes.
Yes, so
Yes.
those are, so I'm not gonna go over all of those.
Nope,
You can
there's
see
only
what
two of
the
them.
pad notifications, the NOI notifications are in that respect. So that's covered. Any questions for Andy? Yes,
I got a question for
thank you, Dan.
you or the floor here. You know what? I'm sort of like you, John. I get in trouble everywhere I go.
No, don't say that.
And it just seems like over the years, REMAC has gotten so big with their different protocols and mandates that are coming down. And then, you know, even tonight with us voting on rural metro being, you know, absorbed by AMR. You know, years ago, I came here for CON, got one, was appeal, went back, and then we dropped it. The thing is, I'm jumping all over the place here, but in the state of New York, it seems like there's so much red tape on everything. You know, I got firemen ask me all the time, why should I be an EMT? Why should I be a paramedic or whatever? It just seems like some of the decisions that are being made for us, you know, we go through all the schooling, take the test, we're certified, and then things get changed, and the mandates are always higher and higher and higher. You know, obviously we can see, even with the CON process, you know, back in the day, I'm going back, you know, 18 years ago, they're like, well, why do you want a CON? What's the need? And my answer was, well, tell me when there is a need. And as you can see the process now, we're Niagara Frontier, Professional Ambulance, Emergency Ambulance, Towns, Lacell, everybody is being bought up by, you know, the bigger companies. There's less of the other companies going on. So like tonight, you know, we questioned rural metro, and sort of like even the city of Buffalo pushing rural metro. Where were you? Where were you? Well, if rural metro or AMR or whatever gets up and leaves today, you know, everybody's screwed. And it just seems like the state is putting us in this position. If you listen to the Niagara County radio all the time, it's harder and harder for the fire departments to get out with EMTs. And then the more mandates we put on it, it's harder and harder and harder to keep the EMTs. I understand why we need, you know, some of the protocols, but there's also, my bitch is, you keep up with that stuff, but then other agencies that do not have to answer to the state, like private agencies, like, you know, the fire department inside a plant, you know, the EMT security guards. In my district, in the town of Niagara, we have a lot of independent nursing programs with, you know, like Opportunities Unlimited and the cerebral palsy homes and all that other stuff, where nurses' aides are given drugs that an EMT could never even think of. And they're doing it after, my wife does it. She took a 4-hour course. And some of the drugs she's given, I call the health department, it's like, how can you guys allow a nurse's aide, or even worse, she's just a teacher, no medical training whatsoever, she took CPR, and, you know, she's given Valium, you know, to seizure patients. It's like, how is this going on? And I'm just confused, being in the EMS service and fire service for over 30 years, how we've gotten to the point where we're at. And where does it stop? Where do we go? And I'm all over the place. I guess I don't know what kind of answer I'm looking for, but it just seems like, you know, the big lakes, REMAC, what other alphabet am I missing? You know, there's just so much of it. And I understand why we need, you know, we want the best people in the field. But it's also not a fair playing field across the board. Now, I know further east in the state as we go, you know, in the more, the farmlands, not to be insulting to people, you know, it's even harder for them. You know, I know a couple fire companies that have 2 EMTs. And they're talking about, well, geez, one more REMAC update, you know, I'm done. So, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I just wanted to vent.
I think you bring to light a problem that everybody in this room, I should say, most people in this room also are experiencing. We're going through a period with the existing REMAC where they appear to be reaching out into everything. Okay? Back when Mr. Mack was chair, he had, or we scheduled, and I ended up attending it, a meeting with the director of the Bureau of EMS to express our concern at that time with the REMAC and some problems and issues we were having with the program agency. I think part of our problems, quite honestly, exist with the Office of Pre-Hospital Care and the fact that the other 2 program agencies just don't seem to have any input. It's almost as if everything that comes out under the Office of Pre-Hospital Care. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, then my perception is not correct. The credentialing, they have a right to require us to do credentialing. They have that right. They're supposed to be there to ensure that the people that are out there in the field are practicing according to the medical protocol that's applicable at that particular time and place. That is their charge. They do not have, in my opinion, educational charge, and they seem to be branching out into that. We've argued that point for many, many years, and sometimes we're successful, and sometimes we're not. I'm going to jump ahead, if you don't mind. One of the things that I picked up in the few years that I've been in the REMSCO and the CMAC was a policy statement that was enacted many years ago as a result, I'm told, of the cost that was incurred by EMS agencies across the state when the mandate came out that everybody go to continuous waveform capnography. The cost of that was horrendous. As a result of that, a policy statement, bylaw, I'm having a hard time getting a copy from anybody other than the fact that it exists, that required that anytime the CMAC put forth a policy change that had the potential to have a financial impact upon the agencies, that a financial impact statement or financial relief or something or other had to come forth. The last time that was enacted was over the narcotic issue, whereby it was required that all level 3, 4, use my common terminology, have to carry narcotics. The day of that vote, the REMSCO voted it down and asked for a financial impact review. The committee was put together, and then the study came out, and the study said there's zero impact. I think at this point in time, I don't have a policy statement here tonight. I think that we need to think about this. We need to think about implementing the same thing. A policy is put forth, or they create a policy, that it has to get approval from this group before it can be enacted. Now, we cannot displace them on practice of medicine, but if we're looking at the logging of records, of time that volunteer services have to spend doing this, at the additional cost of the paid providers, for lack of a better word, that these cost impacts be assessed first. Nobody's looking to interfere with their rights to practice medicine or to oversee what we're doing. But it gets to a point where you have to take a look at it. The state of New York, as a good business partner, has certain rules and regulations in place to cut down red tape, to oversimplify it, to encourage people to relocate here. Well, maybe what we need is something to encourage people to stay here in the EMS field. So, I'm not going to put that forward tonight. I want everybody to go home and think about it. Our next meeting is in January. Between now and January, I would like to hear everybody's comments, whether you agree or you disagree, or what you think we should do. And I have a new flat vest. We'll roll with the ball down the street. I'm going to conclude my speech, lecture, chest beating, whatever you want to call it, with this statement. The volunteers of New York State make this thing work. They do. They cannot do it without the rural metros and the Twin Cities and the AMR. But you got to keep in mind that we make it work. If tomorrow morning, and I'm not encouraging this, we decided that, you know what, it's time for a change, we can make that change happen. I don't want to threaten anybody. I don't walk out of this room saying I am. All I'm saying is we can make change happen. But you all have to stick together and agree to what you want to do for change. We are not alone in this REMAC region wanting change. We are not. And it's being discussed and has been being discussed for over a year. That was the reason Lee Burns came down here. And he got put on hold. But change is possible. We should play together nice in the sandbox. We should try to work together, but you can't keep on putting more things and more burdens and expecting the system to survive. Someone once said to me, well, the answer is for everybody to become a paid service. I ask you this, and who do you expect to pay for it? Who do you expect to pay for it? The taxpayers? We're broke already. So, what's your comment, sir? What do you think?
It's a good project.
Well, nothing that's worth doing really comes easy. Right? I'm sure I'll get 15,000 nasty emails tomorrow morning, since it's going to be live broadcast. Okay? Anybody want to comment? I'm interested.
Who's going to the REMAC meeting on behalf of Big Lakes to?
I typically go to the REMAC meeting on behalf of Big Lakes. You know what?
So
I would encourage, so Dr. Cactus was there today. Sometimes I can't make it. I didn't make it today.
Does the REMAC council not give a shit what the other agencies think, or they're just UBMDs in their pocket and that's all they're gonna do?
Well, I'm not saying that's the case.
the power structure in the REMAC is university-based, and they're trying to shove their philosophy down the throats of anybody who's residential or rural, and the Big Lakes and the Southwestern Council have always been, you know, out of their league.
I mean, what,
It's unfortunate.
Well, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? You know, I don't think we're at riot stage yet, nor would I want us to see us get to riot stage. But you are the people. You are the people. Now, if I could ask, you belong to an agency, right?
yeah,
Can I ask what agency? Just,
2 agencies, Carlton and Cova.
okay, how many members you have? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60?
Members that are EMTs in Carlton.
Sure.
2 of us that are active, and about 6 that go to classes, but we might see them a few times a year, and then they struggle to get their stuff done to research. So
I think there are 26 agencies in Niagara County, I believe. I could be wrong. 6 times 26 comes out to be, say, $150. Oops, sorry. Say 150. Do you know what would, let's get 300, 500 people show up for a meeting. Okay, makes a difference. Will we get 300 or 400, 500 people to show up? Probably not. But you have to be heard. And you cannot take away their right to oversee and provide medical direction and control that part. That is their right. However, as an individual that I once worked for had to say to me, John, it's your responsibility to make sure that the people that work for you get everything that this contract says that they have entitled to, but not one damn thing more. So you hold them to what their job is. Anybody else care? John?
Did you
Yes,
say
sir.
they were a subcommittee of this?
Yes, they are.
The REMAC serves at the pleasure of the 3 regional councils, supposedly. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Actually, they serve at the pleasure of each council independently.
Right. But there's 3 councils that
Right.
contract the REMAC. that
That's
we
why they're
have.
called the Western Regional Emergency Medical Service Council. Yes, we could withdraw. I don't think the threat of withdrawing is the direction to go into. I think problems have to be addressed in a planned, strategic way with a measured response as you progress. Could we? Yes, it's a huge undertaking. I would rather see people come together and collectively solve a problem. And the other thing you got to remember, and I keep on saying it, please do not take offense back there. The volunteers are nothing without the people that respond to the calls. Rural Metro, quite frankly, or AMR, or whoever you may be, without your employees, you are nothing. And the same thing is true here. You don't need a REMAC if you don't have people practicing in the field. And I'm not encouraging people to stop practicing in the field. Okay, because I'm sure that message will resonate someplace. But you gotta come together, take a stand, and dig in.
Decisions are made by those who show up.
That's very true. There are at least 15 people missing in this room. Of the 15 people, only 4 people told me they weren't coming. Am I pissed? You're damn right I'm pissed. Any other questions? So, do you want to vest?
I have one.
You have one. Yes, sir.
For the REMAX standpoint, a lot of it is, I don't know what's else is going on. I don't know what your opinions are for this region, so a lot of times I can't voice those at REMAC meetings. So if there is issues at play, pass them along to the program agency, collaborate with the Big Lakes region, so that way if we don't want it that way, we can voice the opinion for that.
Something to think about. We'll reach out. We'll discuss it at our January meeting. Our January meeting will be the second Wednesday of the month. We had to change this month because of Veterans Day. Okay. Do any of the county representatives that are here tonight have anything that they would like to say? Okay. I'll sum it up this way. All the courses, training courses are in place for EMTs, paramedic refresher across the 3-county region. Classes are well underway. I do not have any course sponsorships for renewal, so there's nothing new to do there. Anybody have a question on that? Training and Ed, we really haven't got that committee running. There are so many other things going on, but I had Jimmy Mahelko reach out, and I don't know since Jimmy became ill for me, but Rick, would you be interested in heading that committee up?
Which one?
Training and Ed?
I got a couple, can I get back to you on that? Because I got
Not
a
a
couple
problem.
things going at work, and I gotta make sure that I'll have the time for it.
Okay, not a problem. We're still working on a website that we have that we don't have, so that's gonna take some more time.
That was on my list.
Yeah, we're still on that. We do not own that website that says we haven't had a meeting. We do not own that website. That's
Yeah,
somebody
the calendar's
else's
over 2
website.
years old.
Pardon?
The calendar's like 2 years
Okay,
old.
we do not own that
Who
website.
does?
The company, I'm trying to think, they're out of Canada.
Why don't we get a new one?
We do have a new one. We're trying to get that up and running along with the other.
One taken down?
I can't get it down. We don't own it
Why don't we own it?
because the ownership ran out.
Seemed like it just goes
So
away.
we just, that's what I would thought. But we do have a new one. We do have 2 new web addresses. And I will try to get that up and running. If there's somebody that wants to do that, stick your hand up in the air and you can do it. Okay, we'll continue to work on that. Any other questions? Correspondence, I have nothing other than the correspondence that we received from Rural Metro, and we have a new representative from Niagara County. Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Andrew Knoll, General Manager at Twin City Roads.
Okay. Andrew has assured me that he'll always be here. So that's a vote that we can count on at this point in time. Does anybody else have any other new business? Yes, ma'am. Barb,
Actually,
right?
yep. Today we got the official word that we will be having a class at Orleans Training Academy. EMT course starting the refresher January 5th and the original January 7th for the May test date.
I think it's a long call for that. Any other new business? Okay, I have 2 things left. Number one, I told you that our university's been trying to establish a paramedic program. We sent on our course renewal application. We indicated that we were going in that direction. We've been encouraged by the REMAC to go in that direction. And our first attempt was to start out with a paramedic refresher. According to the rules and regulations, in order to conduct a paramedic refresher program, you do not have to have a functioning paramedic program. We're cautious. We take steps one at a time, and we were very confident that that application would be received. It was rejected because we didn't have letters of support from the people that were encouraging us to do that. So I wish somebody from the audience would make a motion. Thank you, Dan, to have Big Lakes send or draft a letter of support supporting Niagara University's efforts to conduct a paramedic refresher program. Anybody want to second it?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. You're opposed?
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Next thing, the last Saturday in January, the university will be conducting or holding its annual EMS seminar. It'll start at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning and go to about 4:30, 5 o'clock that evening. We will be awarding 7 core credit hours. It will also be an instructor update. There will be a course number for it for anybody that's interested in attending. In the past, Big Lakes has sent us a check for $1,500 to help with that program. There is no charge for the program. Everyone is fed. Sponsors include the university, Mount St. Mary's Hospital, Tri-Community Ambulance. I don't know the status of another sponsor, but we're meeting with a sponsor later in the week from a major hospital in the Buffalo area. So I'm looking for a check for $1,500 to help underwrite that.
Do we have adequate funds to cover that?
Should have enough. We'll divvy up between the different counties, but that comes from Niagara County, so it comes from the Niagara County Council is the one that actually approves it and just sends it to us. It's nothing we approve because it's training and education, so each county approves their own and just sends it in. So, but we've done, Niagara County's done it in the last 2 or 3 years that they've done it, so.
3. Anybody?
We need a motion.
Yep.
Second. You got the second on Colangelo?
Colangelo. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Thank you. Remember, that's open to anybody. So it's a good day. It's an easy way to pick up 7 core credit hours. There's a course number with it. You're fed all day long. I'd encourage you to come. Is there any other business that needs to be conducted this evening? If not, I'm 20 minutes over. That's probably the break we took. The next meeting, 2nd Wednesday in January. I would encourage you, please try to come 6:15, 6:30, network a little bit. The dates are?
The 13th.
The 13th. Do a little networking, have a little pizza. In the summertime, we'll have No, I can't say that. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Frozzalone, second. Deb Taylor. Thank you all for coming. Remember, give hell to those people that didn't come.